What's up, everybody? I'm back with another video game review, and today we are reviewing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, released on the Wii U back in 2014. But it was also got a re-release on the Switch in 2018. So that's where, and that is where I was able to play this game. So once again, thank you to LikunMiffery for letting me borrow this game so that I could give it a try and give it a play. This was my second Donkey Kong game. First one was Donkey Kong Country Returns. If you want to see my review of that, go check that out in the game reviews playlist. But this is a direct sequel to Donkey Kong Country Returns, and it was so as such, there is a lot of the same elements and stuff, same template as you see for Donkey Kong Country Returns. A lot of the same control mechanisms, a lot of the same kind of power-ups, a lot of the way you end the level. It, level progression sort of thing, all feels very similar to Donkey Kong Country Returns. So, you can expect that when playing this game. But there are some noticeable additions and differences to this game. And also, I played Donkey Kong Country Returns on the 3DS, so not on the Wii, but I got to play the console version of this one. So that might also partially affect my thoughts on it too. First off, my first thing is you can play as Funky Kong. That's really awesome that you can finally play as Funky Kong. I think that is really, really cool. It is like the quote-unquote easy mode of the game. And I did try it out for a little bit. I kind of switched back and forth between Donkey Kong and Funky Kong. And there's a few noticeable differences, but not a whole lot. I mean, Funky Kong, you get more hearts. You get the hovering ability that you can do all the time. And that's really all that I used from him. Maybe the underwater stuff I heard maybe changes a little bit too. In the Donkey Kong, you can have Dixie or Cranky Kong or Diddy Kong with you to help with like extra hovering, or you can bounce off of spikes or something like that. So the different characters that you can play as alongside with Donkey Kong is really, really cool, and I think that was done really, really well. So definitely like that. Now let's talk about those underwater controls. They're new for this game. Donkey Kong Country Returns didn't have any underwater levels, so they make a return after a long hiatus. And while the positive about these is that they look great and they have cool music. Now this game in general looks really, really good, though. So it's kind of on par with the rest of the game. It looks amazing. The levels are very, very well designed, all very unique with their own certain elements. And there's just a lot of cool stuff that you can have happen in the levels, especially like with the canon ones. And how they kind of switch from the 2D to the 3D mode, and just how visually awesome they look. With the graphics look great, the music is awesome to listen to, and everything just looks crisp and spectacular. Which, saying the original thing this game was released on the Wii U, that's pretty impressive. So, I definitely liked seeing that. But going back to the water levels, in my opinion, the controls suck. They were very unpredictable. Sometimes they would invert when I didn't even want them to invert, and there was just a lot of momentum carrying that would happen that would cause me to run into spikes or run into enemies, and it was really, really hard to change directions to avoid enemies, because sometimes you would have to move faster, like do the dash thing to keep up from ink, or to move around and break through stuff, and then sometimes it'd be super hard to avoid an enemy that was like right after something or like right in front of you, and you would end up taking damage or worse, dying because of that, and that was pretty annoying. And that was the underwater levels were not my favorite in the game. They were one of the worst in the game, I thought, especially the boss battle that you do underwater with the big blowfish. That one's just stupid. Probably the hardest boss in the game before you get to the final boss, in my opinion. I just didn't like it at all, because of the bad controls. But, I'm probably in the minority with that statement. I just didn't think it was great. And then since there are some levels that go like 3D mode for part of them. A lot of them, like with the cannons and the mine carts and stuff that you are riding, that's when a lot of it happens. And I just thought a lot of the jumps or a lot of the obstacles in these levels were really hard to avoid because when they go into 3D mode, there's pretty bad depth perception. And it's kind of hard to see when you're actually if you're going to actually hit something or not. So it's kind of mostly a guessing game. And thankfully, there's not that many instances where this happens. But there are a few in particular, especially near the end of the game, that you are going to experience this. So just be aware of that. But overall, it's not a big deal. Most times, you're gonna get it right, even though it might look like you're not. But there's a couple where it can be very fast paced, and the controls aren't always responsive, and so it can just be a little annoying. So you really got to be on your toes for that one. Also, penguins can't fly in the air. They fly, but they fly underwater. Okay. Just a little inaccuracy, I thought. Hitboxes are massive. I mean, it seems like you get like an inch away from something, and it counts as a mega hit. That was pretty annoying. Especially again with like the underwater levels and like the ice levels, anything that had ice and you were like sliding on ice. I thought that was a pretty big issue as well. And like I said about the levels, cool designs, great level sequences, great music. They look visually spectacular, and there's just a lot of creativity put into them. Every level feels unique from the other one. I wanted to play more of them because, like in Donkey Kong Country Returns, they do skip a lot of the levels, just like skip around, and you gotta unlock a bunch of them from getting all the collectibles, the Kong pieces, or the puzzle pieces, which are all both return in this game. And that's fine. The puzzle pieces they were really hard to find, and the Kong pieces I did try and collect, and I did do a good job. I got quite a few that actually got all the Kong pieces, more than I did in Donkey Kong Country Returns actually. But some of them required you to die in order to get them, which I thought was stupid. Especially if you're just playing as Donkey Kong, you can't keep the Kong pieces when you die. So how are you supposed to play with them as Funky Kong? I guess I don't know. So that was pretty annoying, but some of them I did. So maybe I was able to play a few of the extra levels, but most of the levels, some levels, especially near the end of the game, it just feels like there's so much going on. It felt like more like a rhythm game, where there's just a lot for you to pay attention to and worry about to try and avoid, and there's very, very narrow movements that you have to make to get from point A to point B. And yeah, that can be pretty annoying. So they can be a little overwhelming, maybe near the end of the game. But honestly, it's not done badly though. It's just good game design in my opinion. Makes the levels challenging. The game difficulty does get turned up to an 11, especially in the final world. After the beginning of the game is super easy, and then there's like a point where it just like flips the script and it goes super hard at the end of the game. Which can be. Yeah, just know that you want to save up balloons for the end of the game. Just know that. And then the final boss. This level is a candidate for probably my 10 hardest video game levels that I've ever played. There are now 4 on the list. It's been a while since I've had one though. Crash Bandicoot 1 had 2, which is crazy. Battle Block Theater's final level is the 3rd one, and now Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze's final battle. And it's supposed to be because of the ice sections and just how stupidly accurate you have to be with the jumps, and where the positioning you have to make, and amount of times that you have to kill the bosses. I didn't like it in Country Returns, and I don't like it here, how you have to hit the bosses 3 times, and that counts as one main hit and moves on to the next sequence. So you're really having to hit the boss 9-10 times just to kill it. The Nintendo way has always been 3. I wish they kept it for this game, but they didn't. Sometimes it's not that big of a deal, but sometimes it is, and that's just pretty annoying in my opinion. But it's a very challenging. It took me a long time to beat that boss. Well, in retrospect, about how many times it took me to beat the rest of the game, because I was able to beat the game in a full day. In just one day. This game it's only 6 worlds. It feels a lot shorter than Country Returns. I remember it taking me a lot longer to beat Country Returns. And I think that's because there's less levels. I don't know. I think there's more that they include for bonus levels, and less that they include in the main game. So I guess it includes, more reason to get all the collectibles, but I also think there's less in the main game, so it doesn't take as long. But could have taken me a lot less time if I had known what to do for the levels, but such is life, I guess. So, but overall, I think this is a really fun game. It can get very challenging, a little stressful at the end, but overall I think it's a very well-designed, creative, challenging game with a few flaws, but you know what? Not everybody's perfect, and I still think it's worth your time to play this game if you can. So, my final score for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I'm going to have to give it a good, probably 8 out of 10. Really fun game to play. Short, though, and stuff like that. So, that's going to do it with this video game review. If you've ever played this game, I'd love to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for this video as well. So stay tuned for much more amazing content, including more video game reviews and other awesome stuff. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.